Hold up, I ain't trying to stump, man, but the Yeezys jumped over the jump, man. I be in and out of arenas like I'm Scottie Pippen. Left my elbow in the pot, a la Vince Carter.
Bitch, you weren't with me shooting in the gym?
James Harden with the range on me, nigga, way back. Coach, they won't knock me off my pivot, get it.
Been flowing stupid since Vince Carter was on some through the legs arm and a hoop shit.
And you can live through anything if magic made it.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, now you do.
Lovers of the association. There's a lot going on around the league, and let's get to it. So Pat Bev continues to fire his shots at the Lakers, letting it go slow, clip by clip. He's just emptying it all out. And he's doing this all through a slow rollout for his brand new podcast. But he sort of gives us insights on what's going on with the Lakers, especially when he was there trying to voice his opinions on certain changes that they should make. And let's also keep in mind that in his first 10 games with the Chicago Bulls, he has gone 8-2, and he's completely turned their season around slightly as he gives them a great chance to get into the play-in.
I'm fortunate to be able to play for a coach like this, you know, in the stage where I'm at in my career right now. No lie, I'm fortunate, bro. And obviously, you know, throughout my life, I mean, I played for a ton of great coaches, a ton of them, like, you know, Hall of Fame coaches. So, but to play for a coach like this, you got to think I played against Billy Donovan when I was in Arkansas. Yeah. SEC championship. We played Florida. They beat the shit out of us. But, you know.
But that was a great Florida team.
Yeah. Amazed, probably one of the best collegiate teams put together, you know. So, I've been knowing Billy for a while. So, like, to even get a chance to, man, it's, you know, just, I wish you guys, man, you know, just to be around him, man. To be around him is dope. He's a dope man. He a dope man. He is.
I could tell by how much you say that you like really mean it, or like that you're just inspired and excited about having him.
I enjoy coming to work.
Yeah, it really seems like it.
Yeah. Listens to, like, if I got some shit, you feel me? Hey, man, I think we should do this. Listen to me. All right, yeah, I'm cool with that. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, you know.
Any specific examples of that in a game?
Hey, yeah, we should do this on defense. Nah, we cool. No, we gotta rotate. Brian, what you mean we gotta rotate, bro? You ain't even playing. What do you mean? You gotta rotate. No, that shit wrong, Pat. Yeah, that's what I just said, but they don't listen to me.
Interesting. So it feels validating to be listened to.
Not listened to like, okay, I was right, but listen to like, all right, we want to get down the street. Yeah. Our methods, we both go get there. But my way, we just go get there a little faster. So
it was probably frustrating as hell to like say the right thing.
It was hard. And, you know, and you gotta think, obviously, I don't have a championship with the Lakers. I don't have a championship at all. You know, I have 2 Western Conference Finals, 2 different teams, like, you know, so obviously, you know, when it comes to like, you know, obviously you got, you know, first head coach, you know, like, he's trying to lay down his law. You know, he's trying to establish the foundation. You got LeBron there. You know, you got Anthony Davis there. You got Russell Westbrook there. So when the times it gets to Pat, when the times it get to, oh man, maybe we should do this, you know, I don't want to say it's not being heard, but, you know, you got to go through first your coach, the LeBron, the AD, the Russ, and then it gets to me. You know what I'm saying? So like, you don't hear my shit the way you should hear my shit. You know what I'm saying? But
is there...
And it's funny that he's speaking about the pecking order, but the pecking order is really LeBron, the coach, AD, then Russ. But it's very interesting because a lot of players that kind of fit that 4th, 5th tier that play with LeBron James, especially young players like Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma. We've seen Chris Bosh got reduced to a small role. A lot of these guys, man, they kind of flourished after LeBron James left their situation and went on to another team. So it's kind of suspect. It seems like when you're a role player on a team with LeBron, or you're just like the 3rd or 4th option, you seem to become a background man. And I think Pat Bev, with all his experience, is shocked that a lot of stuff that he said was ignored. And like Pat Bev said, man, plenty of experience. 2 Western Conference Finals with 2 different teams. You know, he's been doing this thing for a long time, and it seems like he wasn't even considered when he had mentioned a few things or just had a few pointers.
A meeting that you can have where you're like, hey, like, I do have good ideas, like maybe it's time to, or is it more like just let the situation unfold as it's going to.
Let it unfold. And then, you know me, and I'm like, yo, maybe we should, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're not good at this. And that's okay, because, you know, it's a lot of stuff other teams ain't good at it. Let's just rep it.
Yeah.
Rep it means, like, we got to work, though.
That's got to be frustrating, though. Like, I've been in positions work-wise where I'm like, hey, like, maybe this should be the strategy. And people are like, this isn't going to be our strategy. Like,
but it was the same thing with Barstool, too, though.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Talk about
It's the same thing with Barstool. Like,
Talk about it.
When I left, when I got traded from the Lakers, I had all heat, you know. My brand manager, she wants me to go to Golden State because of the look. Everybody wants to push Golden State. And, you know, if I would have went over there and we would have had instant success, I wouldn't say got credit for it, but, like, I wouldn't be the first person that was like, oh, that's why it happened.
Right. You'd be like, oh, Steph's getting healthy.
Yeah.
Clay's getting healthy, like there.
So I had to go through that shit with people within my own circle. Then I had to go through this shit with, you know, with people with the Lakers. It's frustrating, bro. It's like people don't be seeing my vision. And, like, how could you, like, me and my high school coach, we was talking about this shit. Like, how could you not, like, respect anything I gotta say? Look what the fuck I done been through. I have not only played in the NBA, I played in the G League. I played in the D League. I played in the motherfucking First Division, Euro Cup, Euro Challenge, Euro League. I played in every facet of basketball, like, in the world. I know how to play basketball. Like, I know how to play basketball. I know how to fucking win, you know? And it's just frustrating that, you know, due to some circumstances or, you know, whoever on the team that, you know, your voice isn't, you know, what you're saying isn't echoed, because we had a nice fucking team in LA.
Yeah, and that seems to be the story that kind of follows with LeBron. As we've seen other players actually grow frustrated and kind of throw shade from time to time. We see even Jay Crowder do it when he went to Phoenix for the first time. Or I believe when he went to Utah after the Cleveland trade, he said it was nice to play in a real system. Very, very interesting. But it seems like a lot of role players, they become background guys and they're just supposed to stand at the three-point line and shoot when they play with the LeBron James, I would say, or AKA the LeBron James experience. But Pat Bev, man, firing his shots, letting off his clips slow, round by round. Now I always ask myself, how patient will Luka be with Mark Cuban, especially after this Kyrie Irving trade, where now everything is left up in the air? And in a way, this Kyrie trade is part of the Porzingis pivot in a way. Because ever since they got KP, they sort of picked up the contracts of Bertans, and they had a lot of guys on the books on this team where they were eating a lot of cap space. And they're just 50-50 on quite a few guys. First of all, Christian Wood, he's an unrestricted free agent. He's probably more than likely going to leave the Mavs. I don't see the Mavs even offer him a deal, so his money will come off the books. And Kyrie is flip-floppy. So his $36 million is either going to come off their books or they're going to potentially have the opportunity to re-sign a star to put next to Luka during, I would say, Kyrie's latter years of his career. He's still relatively in his prime at the age of 31 now. And he does give Luka quite a good co-star, but in reality, the Mavs, they kind of had messed up because they had initially a nice co-star that would have came at a lot cheaper price in Jalen Brunson. So that's why I was asking myself, how patient will Luka be with Mark Cuban? Because there's been quite a few blunders. First the KP trade, and now you letting Brunson go for nothing equated you to getting rid of a lot of your wing players who are good three-point shooters, which leaves the Mavericks currently in a weird situation where their team is relatively too small. They got Tim Hardaway Jr. guarding large forwards. They're dead last in the NBA in rebounding. And even players like JaVale McGee, which they got him on a 3-year deal, but they can't really find minutes for him to be on the floor. It just seems like that's not working out. But the Kyrie trade does open up the Mavs to actually have the potential of signing a second star to this team to put aside Luka. But I was asking myself, why can't Dallas actually get free agents, at least top level free agents, to go there? No state income tax, relatively a decent size to large size market in Texas. I never understand how come Mark Cuban could never get guys to go play in Dallas out of free agency. But the thing about Luka, he is locked in until 2027. But we all know Luka, man, in a way, this guy could be making a fuss. We've seen him not shy away from arguing with front office people even during games. But I'm wondering how patient will he be with Mark Cuban. They're definitely going to have cap space if Kyrie leaves and if Christian Wood also makes an exit. But this team has a lot of other holes. They don't have a good perimeter defender, and they also don't have wings who could get a lot of defensive rebounds. It's a weird team, and they're just way too small. They even got smaller after the Kyrie trade. But Kyrie paired up with Luka Doncic, surprisingly, they could still keep up with a lot of teams offensively because of just those two. But the question that always comes to mind is, how come Mark Cuban can't attract free agents to Dallas? It just doesn't make any sense. Because the longer Luka is there, especially after making the Western Conference Finals last year, the more pressure the media should put on Luka to actually ascend this team onto the next level and be better than the season before. I don't know why, but Luka still doesn't have that pressure. It seems like that's like a thing they really just put on American-born players to win championships, because when you look at guys like Jason Tatum, they definitely putting pressure on him to win now. I don't know why the same thing doesn't go for Luka. But we'll see how Mark Cuban pivots this team to put Luka in a good position to chase after a championship from season to season. Because the first couple of years, man, it's been a hell of a struggle and a few strikeouts. Now, Gilbert Arenas spoke on Ja Morant, and the irony of that. Two guys that just got caught up in situations with guns while being in the league. I mean, it is what it is. But before I get to that, I just want to say this about Ja. Ja Morant is part of that class of Luka, Trae Young. There's a few guys early in this class where they're going to be the first guys, especially when this new TV deal kicks in, that they're potentially almost going to make $1 billion just off of NBA contracts. Not even endorsements, just contracts. So Ja has to understand of where he's heading and to actually lock in and focus and not put himself in situations to sabotage that. Because whatever strip club that he went to, it's so weird because it's like two things. First of all, the police, they did an investigation for what? Nobody put in a police report. Nobody called the police. There were no complaints. But police did an investigation for what? I've never heard about that. That's strange in itself. And second, the strip club leaking photos of Ja Morant in this whole situation is crazy in itself. I've never seen strip clubs just do that just out of nowhere unless they're clout chasing. They actually gave statements to the media saying that Ja Morant was really nice. He didn't drink. He was on his best behavior. But yet you guys leak out photos of him in the room, which makes no sense in itself. So the strip club is kind of clout chasing, and they're trying to make a name for themselves off his fame. And also the police just investigating the whole situation for no apparent reason, when no one put in a complaint. These two things are very odd, and Ja has to realize when he goes out, he has to put himself in a good situation because he is a walking target. And it's clearly obvious. Either the police department is trying to get some clout, or the strip club is also trying to get some clout off this situation and monetize it. Because usually when guys spent that amount of money, especially that strip club, saying how much money he spent to the exact T, it doesn't make any sense. And the fact that he spent $50,000, part of that payment comes with privacy. That's pretty much implied. I don't know why the strip club is leaking out photos and giving out statements, which is very, very weird. But at the end of the day, Ja Morant is very important to the NBA because he does give the NBA access to the younger demographics. Kids from age 11, well, I should say from preteen all the way up into high school. That's the key demographic that the NBA right now, they're struggling to maintain their attention. And Ja Morant is basically their key access to that demographic. So he serves a very important role to the league. But Gilbert Arenas spoke on this situation. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
Talk about mistakes, though. In the span of a couple of days, before the incident with the gun in the strip club, he was on the bench during the game, letting them off.
What's wrong with that? What is wrong with that? Like,
given the circumstance of the situation that's going on, you find nothing to be wrong with that?
No, because I've been. You know what's so funny? When people talk about they've been there, I've been there. So yeah. I know that the reaction he's doing. If you take away the incidents of what people were saying about the gun, you know, with the 17-year-old, is that fine? Because every other player does it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So since every other player does it, what's the difference? Yeah, he's under the spotlight, but he's still just being normal. The club incident is he had to consciously think about what he was going to do. Get on the gram, get on the gram. He was on social media,
Yeah,
right?
IG Live.
And film himself doing it, which is basically YouTube, in a sense. So I just think it's more of a rebellion, pushback than the whole thug movement.
And you think, people have pointed out Colorado open carry state. So I really haven't seen the NRA come to Ja's defense, which is a little confusing to me, but that's for another conversation. But some have said that Ja needs a better crew around him. Others have said that, no, this is Ja and he needs to just be making better decisions. What do you think?
You don't want to give him the scapegoat of using his friends, but at the end of the day, sometimes you got to remember, you're the person that's in the NBA. You went through college. You made it out. Your friends didn't. You know what I mean? They're making it out because of you. You're pulling them out. So, sometimes when you're sitting around those friends, you're picking up their habits versus them picking up yours. So all you're doing is enticing them to be who they really are, what they really want to be, and you're just trying to fit in. So it seems like he's going to take on the personality of them instead of them trying to rise to his superstardom. But that's everybody's friends.
And he has to understand when to separate from that. LeBron James serves as a prime and perfect example and just a model that you have to have when you're someone like LeBron James and you elevate your friends. All his friends are in prime position to have businesses of their own and to elevate just like LeBron and help him out at the same time. That's the model for anyone, whether you're a celebrity, whether you're a basketball star, or just you're achieving something in business or just any type of success in life. That's like the type of circle you want around you, guys that are willing to elevate and go along to the next phase of life with you.
It's everybody's friend. So I don't understand, most of these adults in their 50s and 60s, 40s, and when you guys were 23, you guys were doing dumb shit, right? You were doing dumb shit, right? Are we gonna forget there was a Dennis Rodman? Was he 23 when he was doing that, or was he 30-something? He was 30-something acting like that.
Yeah, and that's a cultural issue. Something up with our society where we see as long as a guy is making millions of dollars, we never question their mental illness, as we see from Kanye West, and we pretty much view them as an adult. And that's something, especially with athletes, that we see. People kind of hold them to the same standard as like someone that's in their 40s. Now they do have a responsibility, but at the end of the day, sometimes it's like we forget that they're also kids.
Right, Jordan, clubbing and Vegas, flying Vegas, and then coming to the game. He hit 55, but if he didn't hit 55, what would they be saying? That's an older Jordan. You know what I mean? Charles Barkley, all these guys are older doing dumb shit.
And that's a great point Gilbert Arenas had brought up. But at the end of the day, it's just too many incidents back to back with Ja's name on it.
You know what I mean?
I think Barkley threw somebody through a window or something.
How old was he when he did it?
So
he wasn't 23, is what I'm saying. So it's easy to throw rocks, when you have stone now and not glass. But at 23, you do 23-year-old shit, just period.
But is it fair to say that at 23, Ja is a different 23? When you're talking about a multi-million-dollar athlete, a role model, somebody who has, he's out in public, he's doing things, does a bunch of charitable and community stuff as well. It's not the same 23 as somebody like myself who was washed by the time I was 21, living a regular square life.
You gotta remember, he didn't have a full college career. It's not like he's went to the NBA and everyone on his team is in the 30s, right? Everyone on this team is younger or the same age as him. All immature, all are trying to figure out who they are together. Why you think they all act the same on the court? They're all picking up the same personalities because there's no other example for them to actually look at. So, they're still going to the mall, right? This is the age where they're actually still going to the mall because that's what the age does. Like, instead of, we can just, ship everything to us, but they have to get out and go to the mall and still actually trying to be normal, but they have all this money and all this fame. So when you think about the places he's gonna get in trouble, it's only a few places. Club, strip club. That's the world he's in. You gotta remember, the world he's in is more of a...
Now, further thing I want to elaborate about that strip club culture, just know, especially among the NBA players in the inner circles, when a lot of those guys go to the strip club and they're throwing money, best believe, especially the brothers, the places that they're going to, they're competing against the D-boys. There is a culture where NBA players and either scammers or D-boys, they come into the club and they compete with each other for who could throw the most money. That is a culture in the strip club, and a lot of NBA players, they're aware of it.
A strip club, it's a low life. It's a low life. Our job is we have a low life hour. You gotta remember, after we're done practice around 1 o'clock, there's no doctors and lawyers and businessmen or women free. They're work. That time is strippers getting ready for the strip club that night, right? Right? So, we have this time, we're at the mall, no one's there but strippers shopping for their night shift. And then when business people get off, unless you catch them at the mall, but for the most part, you're having the same lifestyle. So it's that 1, 2 o'clock, then you sleep all day, then you're partying at night. So you're in, that hood lifestyle, believe it or not.
And when Gilbertina says hood lifestyle, it means like it's not structured really. It's very unconventional. And sometimes the younger players, they're going through transitions, not only that their lifestyle kind of lines up with the strip club lifestyle, they're also getting an influx of money at the same time. So the times that they have to work and get breaks, it coincides with the nightlife. The guys that go out to the clubs, the strippers, the D-boys, it kind of lines up with that. They sort of have like the same time schedule where it's like they're free during the night. They don't really have to be up early during the day, or even if they have to, they have the whole middle of the day of having a break after practice, and then they play the games and they just get out just in time to go out again.
It's more of a club scene, for entertainment. And so that's the only places he can actually get in trouble.
So like you mentioned, Ja has a solid support system. He's got his parents around. His dad, T, is pretty much at every single game.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch the games, very active in his son's life. Mom is as well.
And his dad has to get off the whole celebrity shit. His dad seems like he wants to be seen. I went to a basketball game and his dad was sitting right next to Floyd. I actually got lucky enough to get front row tickets. Like I was in row 3, but at the end of the day, like Ja's dad, he's going to different arenas. I was in Madison Square Garden. I don't know how, he actually got front row tickets right next to Floyd Mayweather. This guy has front row tickets to every away game. So there's definitely a celebrity aspect to it with his father.
Shifted to talk about what was your experience like coming into the league and how much support did you have and what outlets did you have to find that support? It seems like you're in college, you got a lot of people on your shit, you're on campus, you got people checking on you, you gotta be a tutor and you gotta be here, you gotta be there. When you get to the league, it's like, oh, you gotta be practice games, but the rest of that time is yours. So what outlets or what resources did you have to help you make that transition going from a college kid to now I'm a grown ass man in the NBA?
That's that adjustment to that NBA life. Is that transition I was talking about.
Resources. There's no resources. There's no one who can identify with what you're doing besides your teammates. If you look around at ex-teammates, their best friends are ex-teammates, the people they played with, because they're the only ones that is going through the same exact thing you're going through. Friends are, leeching off you. Girl might be in the streets doing something, parents asking you for money, this person asking you for money, this person trying to get you to invest. So the only people you can really talk to is your teammates.
And it's funny because the strip club also leaked out that Ja said after pulling out the gun that he was going through issues. And a lot of those issues is what Gilbert is talking about right here. And only other NBA players understand these things. Unfortunately for a lot of NBA players, they become the breadwinner for their whole families. That's why a high percentage of NBA players, after they play, they go broke. They're paying mortgages and car notes for extended family members. A lot of people that they know, including friends, they guilt trip them to get $30,000 or maybe $40,000 for something. these guys among friends and family, they almost get viewed as like an ATM machine. And it's unwanted pressure a lot of players go through. So Ja definitely admitting at the strip club that he was going through something after some of the strippers were scared after he pulled out the gun. I think the quote was from the stripper, "Oh, he gave us a white boy excuse. He said he was going through something." Something like that. Once again, that strip club just elaborating on too many details of what went on that night. It's very strange to me. And Ja got to realize when he steps out, he's definitely a target.
Once you really make it from there, it's how fast can you surround yourself with positive people and get rid of the negative. Finding people who are trying to help you build versus steal from you. But it takes time. You know, everyone's not fortunate to have good human beings around us.
And most of us don't. And let's keep it real. Especially for a lot of these guys, this is the first time they're coming into any type of generational wealth. They're the first people in their families even to make more than $50,000. Let's keep it a buck. A lot of these guys, they're the first people in their family to even make above 6 figures. So just imagine they're making multiple millions per year. And as we all know, the media likes to emphasize how much these guys get paid before paying any type of taxes, agent fees, insurance, etc.
You know, LeBron's success, that clean image, is because of his team that's around him. Players he played with in high school. That's what surrounded him. People who had his best interest.
And kudos to LeBron James, because I seen him when he was 17 or 16. He said that he did not care or fall into any of the hype. There was a lot of hype surrounding him, but LeBron James, quiet as kept, man. He was ignoring all of that shit.
So, you know, it's really hard to find, you know, someone who cares about you and not what you can do for them. So,
and also I want to say on that about LeBron James, he did not fall victim to that, unlike his peers. One peer in particular, Lenny Cooks, he fell into that limelight, that whole hype machine, and it resulted in him not even making the NBA.
He's really in a situation where he has to sit back and just think about, you know, who is for the long run versus who's just here right now. Like, you know, at the end of the day, you're carrying a gun for what? There's nothing you're gonna do with it.
No.
Like, listen, I know what we pretend we're gonna do. Here, they're gonna jack my chain. I'm about to pop off. We all, every human being is pretended this was black. Pretended that, you know, like, you know, someone's gonna break in here. I'm gonna do this. You're not gonna shoot. You're not gonna be Ja Morant.
And it's part of that Memphis culture. Let's not make no mistake about it. We know how Memphis is. We see the music coming out of there. It is part of that culture. It's like, you know, we already know it's part of the culture. It's ingrained. I ain't got to further elaborate on that. It's part of the music. You see the grills Ja's wearing. A lot of that Memphis scene is in Ja right now. He got to be careful, man. He could get ingratiated with it, but not too much, man. There's a thin line. There's like a little gray line. He got to do a balancing act with.
Shooting someone, you know what I mean? You're not going to lose your career like that. So there's no point of actually, you know, doing anything. You get robbed, take it, file insurance, buy a new one. You know what I mean? That's really the only thing. But for the most part, you know, it's just something that's just something that, you know, we do.
So you mentioned, you know, I look at a guy like Melo, right? And Melo always tells the story. David Stern kind of stomped down, like, yo, you need to change the circle. He started surrounding himself with more people that he trusts. Some guys are able to do it, recognize it. There's some guys, though, that can't, that feel like they're turning their back on their brothers, their friends, their family when they do those type of things. So just in terms of your opinion, actually having been in the league and done it, how difficult is that actually to do, to be able to be like, all right, I can't fuck with these people anymore? People that you've literally grown up with, people you've been in the trench with, people that you've done stuff with your whole life. Now to say, look, man, on my bag, on my career, it sounds easy on paper for the average person at home like myself. Oh, yeah, just dump your crew, get a new crew. Like, that's not how crews are formed, right?
No, and in the culture that some of us are in, that is not the culture. You're gonna be looked at as a sellout. It's almost like they shame you into a certain position. And a lot of people, they get shamed and tricked out of a position that they're in life that other people are jealous of. And that seems to be a trap. Particularly you see in hip hop all the time where guys get quoted as you're not a real one unless you come into the trenches and hang out with us. As we've seen, that type of trap leads to guys getting killed, as we could see from the takeoff situation with the Migos, and unfortunately for Nipsey Hussle. You know, there's always this mantra where it's like, you're not a real one if you don't come back to the hood. That's really people trying to trick you out of your position. They've seen that you made a way out. You can always come back and have a positive effect in your community, but to come back just to hang out, it just doesn't make any sense. You have a lot more to lose.
It's not actually how crews are formed, but you know, as players, all you do is just ask your crew one thing. If you guys care about me as much as you say you do, then you will change for this next level. Because at the end of the day, for you to be at that next level, you had to change. You had to change to actually make it as far as you did. So when you're saying, okay, I made it, now you guys come with me, for them to come, they can't be the same.
And a lot of them won't change. That's very unfortunate, but a lot of them won't change. And that's the part y'all gotta realize.
They actually have to change. So if they're not willing to change for you, then they shouldn't be part of your circle.
And you mentioned LeBron before, and I feel like when you look at LeBron, kind of the gold standard of how you should move and how you should elevate your crew between Mav Carter.
Is that gold? It was higher than gold.
Or platinum.
Platinum gold.
Yeah.
It's
Vibranium, whatever.
Yeah, there we go, vibranium.
LeBron, make no mistake about it, he is the blueprint for how to operate in life. And that's just not on some celebrity world or NBA player shit. Just in general, in life. LeBron James and the way he orchestrated his whole crew, the way they move and operate, is a beautiful blueprint for everyone to take a look at and follow.
But it also seems like LeBron, if you want to try and compare him to Ja, well, LeBron knew 15, 16 that he was that dude, right? He was the chosen one, Sports Illustrated. They were showing his games on TV. So he had a little bit more time to recognize, but I think that's also a testament to kind of who he is as a man and what he's been able to accomplish. But let's get back to Ja.
You gotta think about it. Even his friends were his teammates.
Yeah. But he had old heads in the mix.
No, but what I'm saying is if you look at the crew, now you're talking about Richie Paul was there from high school.
Yeah.
Right? You know, Savannah. Then you have Maverick.
Who was his high school teammate.
You know, so he didn't bring outside friends.
Yeah.
There's no outside Akron boys hanging with LeBron.
Akron squad.
His teammate.
Yeah.
Whenever you've seen him dap someone up, they've been ex-teammates. That's the difference. Kobe didn't have no friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he didn't have any friends. His friends were Liquor, the ones he actually liked. You know, so it's just recognizing that, you know, if they're not equipped to come to the level for that next level, then you can't bring them until they're ready. That's all it is.
Yeah, and you may not be able to bring them at all if that's the case, if they can't get to that level. Because once you start fumbling bags and messing up money, and we'll see what the long-term ramifications are, but...
And as we've seen, Ja Morant already lost his Powerade deal. So he's starting to see the ramifications of his decisions. And also with his suspension, he's not going to get paid. So however amount of games they suspend him for, he's going to lose out on that money, potentially losing out on making all NBA and any bonuses he had in that extension that he signed.
You go to Nobu, you gonna bring a hooker there? Dressed like a hooker? No. All right?
No.
You're not gonna bring the hooker dressed like a hooker to the Nobu. All right? You're Nobu. The NBA is Nobu. Your friends right now is hookers dressed like hookers. So go ahead, pretty woman them. Clean them up, put them together, and then they can join.
So last thing on this subject, if you could give Ja a piece of advice, and you got your camera right here, so if you could look in the camera and give Ja just one piece of advice, what would it be?
At 23, you know, you really are not really listening to anybody at the time because we feel invincible. So I want to let them know that you're not invincible, right? We're not. This is just the beginning, and everyone that comes into contact with you, you're not going to be able to trust because you don't know if they're trying to trip you up some more. You don't know if they're going to be genuine. So now this is really a eye opener to see what the world is really like.
And that also includes family members. You don't know if they're going to be genuine either. So, Ja got to be clear as day. I mean, just seeing on his Instagram, sometimes he likes to drink. I'm surprised. There's a lot of moves he makes. It shows he's not ready for the next level up. I don't know if he needs a PR team spending some of that money on that. But a lot has to also do with the Memphis Grizzlies. Sometimes some of these small NBA franchises, they're not equipped to handle certain stars, especially for the ones where their TV contracts, their local TV networks, they're not really big media hubs. They don't really generate a lot of money for the league. So they're not used to certain media climates until they come to New York or they go to LA or Miami. So I think for Ja, I think being a big fish in a small pond is kind of having some effects, because now he's seeing that the national media is going to cover him a lot different than the local Memphis media.
Your life has actually changed, and you don't even know. When it comes to tiers, you were a one-tier player. You're supposed to be the future. And then this is just real reality, because no one's going to tell you this. You are number one. You, Luka, Tatum, all that.
That's that billionaire class. That's that class that could potentially make $800 to almost $1 billion in just NBA contracts without endorsement. That's going to be the first group to do that.
I'll bump you to tier 2, tier 3. No matter what you go out there and do, moving forward for at least the next 3 years, you're going to be behind those players because of the image. You're going to have to really sit back and re-image yourself, unfortunately.
Now, I can't say he's going to be behind those guys, but there is going to be a fight for recognition internally throughout the league. So when guys are eligible for awards internally in the NBA, there's going to be a small shadow ban on Ja. I'm not going to say they're going to block him from the awards, but he's not going to get the benefit of the doubt. But when it comes to the fans and social media, that's where he has the leg up on the guys like Luka and Tatum and the guys in his class. He has the leg up. He's much more marketable, especially among the youth, than those guys. And he has natural charisma. As you see Jason Tatum, he uses his kid as far as getting attention on social media and sort of marketing himself as this father figure. And Luka, unfortunately, he's not American. So the American NBA audience doesn't really relate to him like that. But Ja is dancing. He knows the current rap songs, the music. He has the, I would say, quote unquote, American swag.
It's just one of those things where, you want to be mindful, but you still have to be a little real. If you don't get voted in the All-Star game, those coaches are going to look the other way. I mean, a lot of things are gonna happen no matter how good you play. So, it's one of these things where for the next 3 years, you're really gonna have to duck your head and just play basketball, still keep your same personality and not get in trouble for you to get back to who you were 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago before any of this started. So, I just want to tell you that, it's going to be a tough one, especially mentally, just watching how everything unfolds around you. But just understand at the end of this dark tunnel, there will be light. And, the Kobe's, me now have came out of it, just stay strong, keep working, and then, let your game play for itself. Right now, this is when you really just shut the world out and just play basketball and, just try to be mindful of the things you say, the things you do. But it's going to be, you're going to have to, work on your image again for you to be put back in that top 3, because no matter what anyone tells you, you are now in top 2, top 3. You're going to be the Trae Young, you're going to be averaging 28 and 10, and they're going to somehow leave you off the All-Star game. All that's about to happen, unfortunately. But, just mentally be prepared for it and, just keep going.
And Gilbert is right. The media now, they'll kind of cover Ja similar to the way they cover Allen Iverson, especially after he had domestic issues. They're going to sort of cover him with that thug image, and we already know how that goes. So hopefully Ja at least can get some advice from Allen Iverson. And also keep in mind that he is a target when he does go out, because that strip club just dropping the details, the leaked photos of everything that happened. Even though he spent all that money, they're still trying to capitalize off the clout of him being there to promote their strip club. And just that police department investigating what? Nobody made a complaint, nothing happened. So what exactly are they investigating? These are questions that Ja Morant has to ask himself. And just keep in mind, he has to understand where he's going. He could potentially make $1 billion. $1 billion just off of NBA contracts, not even endorsements. So he has to understand the path ahead of him, and understand that path ahead of him comes a lot faster than he thinks. He's not going to be young forever. But it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because once again, Ja Morant is the NBA's access to that younger demographic that they're trying to obtain. He naturally has the charisma, the marketability to actually help the NBA maintain that attention span and viewership. That preteen all the way up into high school, they're very attracted to what Ja Morant brings to the table, especially when it comes to the NBA. Now, during the bubble season, if you guys have not remembered, the Clippers are up 3-1 on the Denver Nuggets in the playoffs. Then the Nuggets had came back due to Jokic. I remember stating that Jokic was going to give the Western Conference a lot of issues. And going back now to 2023, we're approaching playoff time, and I still believe the Clippers are not yet ready for Jokic. First of all, they have not solved their point guard issues, because in that series, they had Kawhi Leonard and Paul George dribbling the ball way too much, trying to create for themselves. So now they got Westbrook, they got rid of Reggie Jackson and John Wall. I don't know if the issues are still yet resolved. And number two, Jokic has gotten even better, and he still poses that threat, especially off the pick and roll, as this guy can either pull up from three, or he kind of looks off defenders and just makes the perfect pass. As the Nuggets, they have their system where their guys are making cuts, and this is very difficult to read. And especially after that pick and roll, what Jokic does after he passes the ball, he positions that big body under the hoop. So even if they miss, he's there to tip the ball to himself. He's very good at tipping the ball to himself. And also, if they get a mismatch, Jokic is so big, of course he's going to post you up. But Paul George is going to talk about this in 2023, and I still believe the Clippers are not ready. But you guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
The big takeaway for me was just Jokic and how good he is. Another 40-point triple-double last night. He does things on the basketball court that appear to be simple, but they're really not. And I know you guys have played against him in the playoffs in a 7-game series. What do you see with Jokic? What is about him that is so special?
Man, he is just like, it's crazy because he's not by any means the athletic guy on the floor, but he just knows his game. I think he's a player that just knows who he is on that court. And you put a small guy on him, he punishes him. Somebody his size, he uses his smarts and wits. It's a tough matchup, and it's one that we failed to figure out so far. But I was blown away because I have quick hands. And like some of the, passes that they were throwing to him, they were kind of out of his range, but the way that he could tip it and get it back to himself, those are usually steals, on anybody else. If that ball is thrown outside of your area, I'm getting it. And
once again, Paul George is mentioning what I talked about, Jokic and that tipping. It's almost like he's playing taps. I don't know how he does that, but he stays tipping the ball, and he has a quick second jump, which you would not expect from a big guy like that.
And he can just quick tip it and get it right back and go right up with it. And, he gets up, pretty quick for a guy that's not athletic. Like his second jump, he's right back on the play. So he's just a tough cover. And like, we tried everything from switching to putting myself, Kawhi on him, to having Mace guard him. Like it was, we had no answer for him yesterday.
And also on the switches, he pulls your big man defensively up out of the paint. So when his guys are making cuts, he's gonna pickpocket you almost like a quarterback. I like to call Jokic not yet Tom Brady, but I like to call him Dan Marino. I mean, at some point when he wins a championship, I'm gonna start calling him Tom Brady. But matter of fact, I'm not even gonna call him Dan Marino. I'm gonna call him John Madden, because I'm telling you, when he pulls your big man out, he is gonna start throwing passes and audibling, and he just looks like a quarterback. It's nasty.
The game, obviously Mason guarded him quite a bit, but at times Nico was on him. You guarded him, Kawhi guarded him, and so a lot of the strategy was around fronting, and that was something I noticed as well on those lob passes over the top. And you guys got a couple of them that were sort of underthrown, but the lob passes over the top, it you know, with your guys' length, it seemed like you were going to get the basketball, and he's just able to sort of corral everything within his space. That Dwight was way more athletic than him, but the player that I relate that to, because I played with Dwight, was just his ability to grab a basketball that was outside of everyone else's space. Like the normal amount of space that a player can cover and get a basketball, Dwight was as good as anyone at getting something outside his space, and Jokic does that. The other thing I loved at the end of the game, so obviously Murray has the basketball, and you guys put Kawhi on him. You were guarding Jamal, and they were running up another pick and roll. So a lot of times it was Eric Gordon's guy late game to get the first switch, and then they'd run the second pick and roll with Jokic to get Eric Gordon on him. And it's that like game of chess at the end of the game that I find so interesting. The manipulation of matchups, and everybody does it, but that's the part of the game to me right now that is like really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, like you said, it's chess. And so like we were doing it on our end. You know, we found like if Murray or KCP was going to guard me and Gordon was going to be on Kawhi, well then I'll set the screen, put Kawhi on the block with a smaller player on him, like, you know, KCP or Jamal Murray or Bruce Brown. Like we'll go at him that way as well. But it's just, you know, it's what the game turned into, especially with a bunch of guys or a bunch of teams that are going towards the switching lineups, because it's just so hard. Like it's hard to be in coverage with the way the game is played now and how well teams shoot. You try to keep out of, you know, rotations as much as possible. And so like, yeah, you know, what Coach Malone did over there was smart, trying to get EG into the action to free up, you know, because we know where the ball is going. We know what's going to happen. And he's so good in the middle of the floor. You know, I think that's why it's so tough with Philly as well. You put Joel Embiid in the middle of the floor, and now you can't double, or you can't, you know, he could see all of that. You know,
right,
what
when
I mean?
he's facing at the elbow or facing at the foul line, it's impossible to bring a double. Yeah,
no double. You can't double from right there, and so it's just you're at his mercy at that point.
Well, it is what it is. You heard it directly from Paul George. It'll be interesting to see how Tyronn Lue adjusts to this, because, I mean, it's a hell of a task. You can't leave Jokic in the middle. And the Nuggets, obviously, because Jokic is out in the perimeter, they pull the big man out. And then Jokic off that pick and roll, man, he's just going John Madden. He knows how to look off defenders, and he makes a pass in a direction which you never expected. I mean, Denver had a couple years of this now. So guys pretty much know where they're going to be, where to make their cuts. And just Jokic is just basically playing John Madden. I mean, if he wins the NBA championship, I'm going to have to call him Tom Brady. I'm not even going to call him Joker. I'm going to call him Tom Brady. So we'll see how the Clippers make their adjustments. Tyronn Lue's a hell of a coach. But hopefully for them, hopefully they don't get them until the Western Conference Finals. I know they're praying on that. So we'll see how it plays out. NBA playoffs will definitely be interesting. This whole era of Michael Jordan owning the Charlotte Hornets is going to be interesting for a number of reasons. First of all, in business alone, it's tough enough to just find competent people to hire. And then if you have that type of personality where it's just solely you want to mess with people you trust. And Michael Jordan is one of those type of owners. And there's other owners in the NBA that have a similar characteristic, aka James Dolan. He seems to be obsessed with loyalty and people that he could really trust. So that's why these guys always tend to hire guys that we're already friends with and they're cool with, which don't really result in good team building and blown draft picks. And it seems like this is something that Michael Jordan struggled with the whole time he was a Charlotte Hornets owner. I mean, they drafted Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, but they quickly traded him for Miles Bridges. And then all those top 10 picks that they blown, the Cody Zellers, the Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Frank Kaminsky, I mean, Noah Vonleh. I mean, they blew a bunch of top 10 picks. I believe Kimball Walker was like the only real successful pick. And if you look at the last 12 seasons, they only made the playoffs 2 times, in which they lost in the first round. So Michael Jordan's ownership of the Charlotte Hornets has been a struggle for real. And Jordan, at the end of the day, he makes a lot of money in other business ventures, not necessarily the Hornets. The Hornets, I would not be surprised if they're completely operating at a loss. As one of the analysts, I believe for ESPN, he actually revealed, I believe he revealed this by accident, but he says a lot of NBA teams are losing money. And he revealed that the Detroit Pistons lost $56 million in 1 year. So I could imagine small market teams like the Charlotte Hornets, how much money they're losing. And if you ever watch League Pass and watch a Charlotte Hornets game, it looks like and feels like you're watching a high school basketball game as far as the production versus other teams. But it's interesting to see who Michael Jordan is selling the team to. I believe one of the guys is a hedge fund manager who was actually involved in that GameStop fiasco a few years back when they try to short the stock, I believe. But owning an NBA team for a majority of these owners, it's almost like having a sports car. But one of these days, we really got to talk about Michael Jordan as possibly being one of the worst owners for the NBA. Like, as far as success, he's one of the worst guys when it comes to that. And just owning a NBA franchise for a lot of these guys, it's almost like having a sports car. It's the, hey, look at me. Yeah, I own this, even though it's not as valuable. It's actually a depreciating asset. I'm not saying owning a sports team, you don't make any money. But when you compare to a lot of these owners, their other business ventures, it wouldn't really even make sense for these guys to spend majority of their time focusing on the NBA franchises. It wouldn't even make any sense. But Michael Jordan owning this team is interesting for the NBA because it's good branding. You know, you have a majority black team, and at least you have a black owner. You should have more, but you don't. But Michael Jordan being an owner of the team is really good because he's the reason why the sport even expanded and is as big as it is right now, even on a global scale. So it is great marketing, and especially the league, you know, it's really good for them, the fact that they helped them out to get a team. But as far as someone as competitive as Michael Jordan, I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to spend a lot of his time dealing with the day-to-day of owning this team. And he just has other business ventures that are way more lucrative. And when you see some of these owners buy these NBA teams at an inflated prices, sometimes they don't really buy these teams for the monetary aspect of them. They kind of buy them to put their names out there so they could be more well known, which creates other business opportunities for them. So I believe these two guys, especially the one that was involved in that hedge fund situation, Gabe Plotkin, I believe he's looking for more clout, especially after that debacle with that hedge fund being shorted by all those people on Reddit. But we all shouldn't be surprised on MJ selling the team. At the end of the day, he is pretty competitive, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to spend a lot of his time on an asset that doesn't really make him the most money compared to the other things that he has going on. All right, so this situation between Draymond Green and Dillon Brooks is brewing up. And you know what's so funny? Because the young pups in Memphis, man, oh, when you're a young pup and you have no pressure, you have pretty much nothing to lose. But it's interesting that Dillon Brooks is still talking his shit, even though it's like pending what the NBA is going to do to Ja Morant, because he could be facing a 50-game suspension potentially. But that does not stop Dillon Brooks from talking his shit. Let's just see how this thing all first started out.
Listen to the 2 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, my teammates showed me. I don't really watch those things. You know what I mean? Yeah, they showed me, and then I watched the whole thing. It was some funny stuff. Not a championship player. I feel like my stuff that I said was facts, and we'll see at the end of the year what they do with him.
Does it piss you off Does it? I mean,
No, because I know I'm a better player than him. I could do the same stuff like he does. That's easy. You know, that's just showing up to work. Me, you know, I try to score. I try to figure out plays. I try to call out plays for my team. You know, so just the fact that, you know, he was trying to, you know, pin my teammates against me, that's a low blow. So, you know, and that's what type of player he is.
And you're secure, obviously, that your teammates. You guys ran together.
Yeah, 100%. You know, these are my guys. You know, we grew it all together. You know, I ain't out there, you know, getting physical altercations with my teammates. You know, I sit there and talk to them, try to, you know, not break them down, but, you know, build them up.
Never decked one of them?
No, never. as much as I want to, you know. I know trying to be the best leader as possible, trying to, you know, get my point across. You know, even with guys that, you know, are solidified or whatnot. You know, I try to find ways to, you know, be the best leader.
So this little back and forth between Draymond Green and Dillon Brooks almost serves like a promotional tool for the NBA. And they need a rival like this. This is not a rival yet, but this little back and forth is almost like a Don King. And I'm wondering if it affects the results of the pending Ja Morant situation, because they're going to need this for the ratings for sure. But let's see what Draymond Green had to say as he responded.
Related news to Memphis the same day. Dillon Brooks was suspended for a game for technical fouls. When it rains, it pours. And in related news, I think the same day, the idiot said something about me in his article, which I thought was very interesting. Raymond Ritter, best PR guy in the NBA, happens to work for Dubs. He sent me this thing, and he's like, hey, man, this writer reached out. He said, Dillon Brooks said this about you, and he's giving you a chance to respond. Quite frankly, if I was going to respond, it's going to be right here on the Draymond Green Show. But I just wasn't really even sure when I received that, like, if it was worth a response. What I will say is, this idiot said, I don't know what Draymond does out there. Matter of fact, let me run this back. He said, I don't like Draymond at all. You don't know me. That's number one. I just don't like Golden State. I quite frankly wouldn't like a team that beats me all the time either. That's number two. I don't like anything to do with them. Quite frankly, you were a little kid in high school watching us win championships. Should be happy that you even witnessed that.
This is what Dillon Brooks is responding to right here.
College, but you get the point. You're a fan. So that's crazy. Draymond talks a lot. I think if you have four, you talk a lot now. So if you have 4 rings, sure, you talk a lot more. For All-Stars, you probably talk a bit more. Defensive Player of the Year, you for damn sure would talk more.
Draymond Green, no doubt about it. He has that resume. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer for sure.
Medals, you definitely would be talking, because that would mean you beat Team USA, and we all know how that goes. So, okay, understand that. Okay, got it. Gets away with a lot too. What exactly do I get away with? I have 15 texts, 1 less than your dumb ass.
It's almost like the Spider-Man meme. The Spider-Man pointing at each other. Both of these guys have the same characteristics, and a lot of players from other teams do not like these guys. It's almost like they're looking at the mirror and they see each other. Draymond seeing a younger version of himself in Dillon Brooks.
Great. His game is cool. If you ever wondered why the Memphis Grizzlies is not ready to compete for a championship, look no further than this idiot right here. They're actually depending on this guy to help them win a championship. And he says his game is cool. Quite frankly, that just shows how little you know about basketball. And that's where it gets really interesting. Because it's one thing for a fan to say that. Quite frankly, I expect them to. Most of them don't really understand the game. You have the understanding of, like, your level of understanding the game of basketball is at a fan level. And yet you running around talking about a dynasty? The dynasty starts after you, not with you. And that's just a fact. I know dynasty-like players, and they aren't clowns. That doesn't work when building a dynasty. Take it from me. I actually know. Clowns don't work building a dynasty, my man. So, you know, he plays with heart, knows the ins and outs of the defense. I want to be quite frank, I made the ins and outs of our defense. Like, you know, kind of like a middle linebacker. You know, improvise, read the situation and react. You follow the stay at home and strong side corner. You follow, you should go there. You follow that guy should trap the box. I don't do that. That's where you went wrong at. But quite frankly, you have the level of understanding of a fan of the game of basketball. Some fans have a deeper understanding, but for the majority, that level of understanding isn't the same. It's kind of like a lot of media. It's very lazy. It's very, very, very lazy. So I guess that's why they like him over there. I'm trying to figure out why they like you in Memphis. Or do they like you in Memphis? That's a better question. I'm not sure your teammates like you. Doesn't lead to winning. I mean, we won some regular season games. But I can tell you why they like me over there. When you contribute in the way that I have contributed to 4 championships, they tend to like you. Because quite frankly, 4 championships, there's 4 NBA organizations that have the amount of championships I have. That's why they like me over there. Not including the organization that I've won my 4 with. That's why they like me though, kid. So, next time you speak up on me, you should do some fact checking. Next time you speak up on me, you should do some soul searching. Next time you speak up on me, I hope you're in a better situation than you in now, where the guys you play with actually enjoy playing with you because they actually think you're contributing to winning. Because it ain't happening right now, champ. You're not a champ. You're a clown. It ain't happening for you.
It's funny because right after all this, they had a quick matchup right on NBA TV, and Dillon Brooks was considering wearing a clown outfit to that matchup against the Warriors. But right after the victory, Dillon Brooks spoke on Draymond Green.
A crazy week. Lost 3 straight, all that's gone on. There was a podcast that was recorded. This one feel a little different tonight?
Yeah, you know, we just come in and do the same thing every single night. You know, we had a rough couple of weeks, but, you know, we got dogs on our team, resilient group that we fight every single night.
You told me before the game you were going to talk a lot. We saw you talking to a lot of different people tonight. What was the message that you had to Draymond?
That's what I do. I talk, and you know, I told him that you know, keep that mic. He's better at the mic than hooping. You know what I'm saying? So keep doing this podcast, keep blogging, keep doing this thing off the court. You know, it's cute, it's fun for him.
And there you have it. Oh, the league needs this so bad, and it shows you how much, you know, confidence these young guns got in them, man, because they're talking a whole lot of smack with the Warriors, knowing that Ja Morant potentially has a 50-game suspension, which I found ironic. But I'm wondering if all this will have an outcome on his suspension, because you know the ratings are going to go through the roof if these two teams match up in the playoffs. In the league right now, in the middle of their TV negotiations, they need all the help that they can due to some of their low ratings. So we'll see how this plays out. Definitely these two are playing the Don King situation, but both of them have the same type of archetype when it comes to their character. And believe it or not, they're almost looking at the mirror and seeing each other as their reflection. So it is what it is. You know, the league having young players come in brings brand new excitement in a way to the game. But that does have two sides to that coin, because without veteran leadership, a lot of these young players develop bad habits. And as we see a few teams not even having a player over the age of 25, we're going to see certain cultures start to trickle down, even being displayed on the court. And it's unfortunate because a lot of these young guys, they're getting indoctrinated into the NBA with bad work habits and just bad habits overall when it comes to just being a professional. And these are the things that the vets kind of groom the younger players into understanding from an early jump. And John Wall is going to talk about some of the bad culture that the Houston Rockets have and how guys like Jalen Green is already kind of going through an indoctrination process where he's getting groomed and having a misunderstanding what the NBA life is really all about. And we can see even this trickle down to other teams like the Memphis Grizzlies and Ja Morant, the going out partying, you know, the reckless behavior. For some reason, a lot of their lack of disciplines, it gets reflected on the court. That's why they can never beat teams like Golden State. And of course, we all know what the situation that Ja Morant landed himself in. So John Wall is going to speak on his time with Houston. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
When you got traded to the Rockets, talk about the Rockets experience.
Trash.
I already know.
I know. Beyond trash. Like, because I'm going there thinking James going to be there, you know what I mean? Once I get traded.
Yeah.
But he already wants out.
He wants out because the Rockets owner is thinking about saving money. It's unfortunate, but the Rockets owner, I believe he bought that team on a little bit of credit from the previous owner, which is weird in itself. I thought you had to have enough money to get these teams, but you know, they're trying to save money. It's clearly obvious.
I landed. I'm like, what up? Ooh, I'm about to land. I go do my conference shit. He's like, well, I'm on my way to Atlanta for Lil Baby's birthday. So, he talking about, you want to get on the jet with me? Bitch, I just got traded here. I can't fuck up. I got to be on good terms. Like, I don't know how the owner is, the GM is. I don't know nothing. Like, it's new. This ain't like I'm in D.C. Am I in D.C.? I'm like, hell yeah, we out.
Right.
It's my show.
Yeah.
This ain't my show over here.
Yeah, nah.
So we do that. They like, so he don't come to training camp, none of that. So, you know, that news is all toxic. For me, I ain't playing 2 years.
Right.
Mom passed, Achilles, then COVID. So I'm like, I don't give a who playing, who not. I just want to hoop.
I'm just trying to get on the court.
That's it. So I did that. One day, worked my ass off, played. I mean, we lost 20 in a row. We was trying to lose on purpose. Tanking.
Yeah.
Like, we started studying this name Justin Patton.
Yeah.
Like, we started me. This how I started lining was, I knew like me, David Nwaba, Jay Shante, Justin Patton, somebody else. I'm like, bro, who the fuck can I win a game with this shit?
Yeah, nah.
And that right there, that losing culture trickles down to the young players. They get too conditioned to losing, especially Jalen Green. They look like they're just chasing their points, but that's not how the game should be played. The owners don't realize they're stunting the young guys from actually achieving higher levels of success on the court. When I say success on the court, I mean just winning games.
It's crazy though, but how did you? Because you the vet at that time.
So I was just like, I was just being a professional.
Yeah.
Like, I always wanted to teach them, like, don't get used to this shit. It's not how the NBA is.
Right.
Like, it's just a bad organization right now. Like, they got to fix some shit around. But, like, I always taught to Jalen Green, Kevin Porter, KJ, I'm like, yo, don't get adjusted to this losing shit. It's not how the league is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I had to tell them, like, the shit y'all getting away with over here, you go to any other teams, you be out the league. Like, you wouldn't play.
You're not playing.
That's how it is when John Wall first came up. But nowadays, a lot of these young guys, when they first join these teams, they're instantly the face of the franchise. See, that's something that used to never happen when John Wall first came into the league. A lot of young guys, it was an understanding that it was going to be their time eventually, but they kind of had to earn it because there were older guys on the team. There were more veteran guys on the team. They actually had to still earn the respect. Now in the league, off rip, because of social media and, you know, a lot of the image rules with these kids coming up through high school and AAU, they're instantly coming into the league with a fan base and already making money, and they're entering into negotiations with some of these franchises to have the understanding that they're going to be the face off rip, and the franchises instantly give them the keys.
They wouldn't play.
No facts.
So I'm trying to explain that to them because they think it's sweet. And I'm like, if you ever get traded and go somewhere else, you can be like, this motherfucker was right.
Yeah.
So even though they didn't want to, in my second year, they didn't want to play me at all. They're like, because they told me, like, at the end of the year, my first year, they're like, yo, we want to bring you back. We love the way you leading the team. You've been in leadership for the young guys. I'm like, I said, I don't give a about doing nothing. I said, if God put me in this place to help the young guys, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But I'm not here. He didn't put me here for y'all motherfuckers to try to tank and me be a player that can still play and just be wasting my talent. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
They're like, you gonna start for us next year, whatever. And I would have been fine coming off the bench for them. You know what I mean? But I'm like, don't just give them a spot. Let them earn it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I go back to check on my condo a month before the season. They call. They'll come in the office. They're like, yo, this is coach talking. He like, yo, how would you feel come off the bench? I said, for who? No offense, but who? I'm your best player last year. Like, this is what the GM want. This is what we want. We want you to play 10, 15 minutes a game. Sometimes don't play. I said, I'm not doing that. Either you're going to guarantee me some minutes,
right,
or I'm not. But I'm like, let him earn the spot.
Not facts.
And the coach, he was like, man, you don't deserve that. Like, you should be a starter. Like, you don't. Be like, this is what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the gray area situations some of these Supermax deals create. These guys are so hard to move. Only teams with the young players and a lot of cap space could take these guys. And at the end of the day, once they take these players in, they want to tank. They want to tank, which is a bad culture overall for the young players. But it creates this gray area where you have guys like John Wall who can clearly play and is clearly your best player sitting on the bench and just collecting checks. It's a bad look overall for the league. They're going to have to amend some of these super contracts too.
Like, well, I'm not doing that. I said, I'll rehab, I'll work out every day, I'll stick around the team, come to meetings, fly with y'all, mentor the guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm doing. Then it got to the point that, like, don't come around. Like, they didn't want me around. Like, I had to work out at 7 a.m. like I was a rookie.
They want you to come around at all?
Like, I had to work out before they got there. So, like, when they would come in to practice, I'd be at home by 10. Well, I'd be back home by 10:30, chilling all day.
Getting paid. This is some of the toxic culture that some of these franchises have in order to tank. It's almost like they're going out of their way to tank. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. You got John Wall finishing at 10 a.m. getting paid just to tank. Like, none of this makes any sense.
So I'm like, nuts. So I'm like, and my kids live in Miami and shit. I'm like, man, I can't be here. But now I'm like, I'm bored as shit.
Yeah.
From 10:30 all day, I'm just chilling to the game.
Right.
The game at 7, I get there at 6:59. I ain't playing. I already done worked out for the day. You know what I mean? So I'm in a whole nother place. I'm like, I'm going out like a motherfucker. I'm like, bro, this is boring as hell. I'm wasting money for no reason.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I said, let me go back to Miami. Get on a regular schedule, spend time with my kids every day till I get traded. I didn't get traded, and I got a buyout, and I signed here. That's how it all went. That's how crazy it was, though.
Yes.
It is what it is. At the end of the day, it's really toxic culture with the tanking. It just doesn't work. I have never seen a team tank and win an NBA championship with the player that they drafted. And that includes LeBron James. The Cavs did not tank just to get James, and then they won a championship with James. James left that franchise. They were in limbo for 4 years. Then he came back, traded guys around, and then they won a championship. So I don't know what's with this form. So I don't know what's up with this tanking formula. It clearly does not work, and it creates a bad culture, a bad atmosphere, and overall a bad NBA product. So just like how John Wall had dropped the game on the league having no vets, and the Houston Rockets kind of going through the trials and tribulations, especially with the young players not quite having an understanding what the league is really all about, Damian Lillard has sat down and kind of gave the same game, as at the time he came into the league where it was transitioning from the three-point shooting era was just coming in, and also the league was a lot older with vets, as the league was also transitioning out of that phase and getting younger and younger. And he also dropped game on how the league was kind of missing something and giving young players keys to the franchise a little bit too early.
I mean, I would say the biggest difference is, how do I put it?
Say it.
I'm gonna say it. No, that ain't the problem. I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? When I came in the league, I put it like this. When I came in the league, like Jason Kidd was starting for the Knicks, and Grant Hill and Kurt Thomas and Kenyon Martin, it was like real older dudes in the league. I played with Jared Jeffries. He was 40 or 41 or something. Earl Watson was 40 when I played with him. I played with like real vets, and it was a lot of stuff that I learned about being a point guard, or, how to lead from Mo Williams and Earl Watson and Jared Jeffries.
And a lot of that stuff that he learned is how to be a professional. And that's very important. How to practice, how to eat properly, how to handle, media situations. These are a lot of things that you can see from teams like the Houston Rockets. They're very unpolished. And Jalen Green, man, he has to be very careful because he's had, I would say, a brand new route into coming into the NBA. And right now he's gotten a lot of validation from the Houston Rockets. But a lot of it is based on falsehoods, because they're still kind of playing a playground style of basketball, and it has nothing to do with winning, especially in the NBA.
and they didn't even play. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just the way that they showed me how stuff had to be done. I had no choice but to respect the game. You know, I didn't have the word I was looking for is entitlement. Like when I came in the league, you had to earn not just what you get from the team or like the respect. You had to earn your space on the team. You know, it was no, oh, you the 6th pick of the draft. It's your team. Like, what is this your team stuff? You know what I'm saying?
And all this kind of it's your team stuff kind of began with the Carmelo and LeBron James era. When those players came in, especially Melo, George Karl used to talk about this, Melo's second coach, where that was ushering in the era where teams were just like, hey, this is the guy. We're going to give the franchise to him off rip. And it kind of gave the players a false sense of entitlement. I always thought players like Melo kind of suffered from this, especially from the early part of his career, where off rip, he was kind of given certain privileges and he was kind of ignoring coaches, as once again, his first 2 coaches, he was having issues with them because his team was giving him way too much validation.
And I think now the biggest difference is you don't have that veteran presence. So you got players who are more talented than ever coming into the league. They're getting picked, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're making more money than those picks ever made. So not only that, now you're giving them the keys to the franchise. There's nobody there to really let them know, like, you super talented, but like you got to earn stuff around here. You know what I mean? You got to earn your way. So they come in and everything is just given to them from the beginning. So that affects how they are, the way they play. Like, they play for themselves. They play for stats. They, think that they're LeBron James when they make an all-star game, or, you know what I'm saying? They get a max contract.
It's all under false pretenses. Of course, if your team lets you shoot about 20 shots a game, your averages, of course, are going to be up, especially in this league today with the way the rules are. But let's not forget to add on hype culture on top of that. All these brand new media outlets that have highlight reels of these players from, high school all the way to coming into the league. These players are already hyped up, and you add on top of that the NIL deals and these guys monetizing their image and all the hype around them. It could lead to a false sense of reality, especially coming into the league where all the players are good.
It's just different. I don't know how to completely put it together, but the NBA I play in now is not the NBA that I came into. And I expect it to evolve. Everything is constantly changing. But like, I feel like I play for the love of the game. Like, I want the competition. I want to know what it feels like to win. I want to see my teammates do well. I want to see my teammates get paid. Like, I enjoy the bonding part of it. Like, we spend more time with each other than anybody. But now it's like,
now it's like these guys are already coming in rich. It's funny because if you look at a lot of these NBA teams, guys bond very close together when nobody's really paid yet. But then once the team starts handing out these big contracts, guys tend to start separating. It's strange, but the same kind of concept applies outside of the NBA. A lot of people have very close friends in high school and no one's really rich or anything. Everyone's kind of like, kid broke. That's when you tend to have your closest relationships. But then when guys start getting older and guys start getting their jobs and getting established, just normal people tend to separate, and friendships and bonds don't tend to be as close the older you get. But at the end of the day, Dame and John Wall kind of gave the same game. And all this pertains to teams like the Houston Rockets. And believe me, the Rockets are not the only team in the NBA that are suffering from this issue. There's other teams that have the same problem. And it's kind of a juggling act that Adam Silver is going to have to make between the league getting a lot younger and guys coming into these franchises with this hype machine behind them, and franchises kind of banking on these guys to be the monetary benefit and carry the franchise, I would say, into the positive when it comes to making money. So it kind of creates this gray area where a lot of these players can come in with a false sense of entitlement. Now, Damian Lillard kind of gives you a player's perspective on young guys coming into the league, this sort of highlight reel hype culture that's going on, and some of the nuances that are going on with those players behind the scenes. and how older players or just veteran players are kind of looking at them at their perspective versus how they came into the league.
Guys who have it when they're 15.
No, I think that's definitely something that is in my favor, that doesn't get talked about. I didn't have to deal with, people trying to, like these kids got managers and handlers and all these things. The hype, people handing them stuff and they getting free shoes and cars and people taking care of them because they want something on the back end and stuff like that. I didn't deal with that. So I didn't get influenced in no way, how some kids have and might get influenced. So I think that is in my favor, and it helped that I went to school, when I got to school, I was coming off the bench, you know what I mean? Like, we doing conditioning tests and they just was on my ass at Weber. Like, I go to class, coach waiting outside my class, making sure I'm not late, couldn't miss a single class. It was like...
That's discipline right there. That's discipline. That's what a lot of the younger players are missing. That same discipline gets applied to when they become a professional. To eat good, to get sleep, to not to go out and turn up, as we see Ja Morant does. This is the type of discipline that happens, that kind of trickles on to the court when they get to that next level, that professional level. And we see the Houston Rockets especially, they're missing a lot of this. They're not disciplined. And at times the Memphis Grizzlies too. They're not disciplined in certain situations. They need more vets.
Stuff like that made me as disciplined as I am now, So I definitely think that experience plays in my favor, but also when I think about my parents, my dad would have never went for no agent with me and a handler and all of this stuff that's happening now, AAU coaches being out front for these kids. My dad was telling me when I entered the draft, if an agent called you, they need to call me. If somebody reach out to you, during my season, my last year in school, it was if an agent reach out to you, give them my number. They shouldn't be calling you. My dad, by the book, he don't play none of the weird shit. None of the, I don't care how stuff goes, we not participating. So
yeah, it gives players from a young age a false sense of reality. Especially being a teenager, it doesn't really make sense that an agent is calling you and speaking directly to you and not your parents. But a lot of these kids, man, they're already prepped up from a young age to getting what they want, that their talents basically results into monetary benefits or getting gifts. It's a very strange way a lot of these young players are coming to the league. It's almost like they're falling in love with what their talents gets them, instead of falling in love with the game itself, or just the rigorous practices or just disciplines in order to perfect their game.
I think it was in my favor, but I don't think it would have ever been an option even if I was a top player or something, because my parents just wasn't going for shit. To this day, they not going.
Yeah. It is interesting. As you asked that question, he's talking about this. I'm thinking back to all of the in-person podcasts that we have done. And sometimes, today we meet a player where his team is staying. We buy a room, spend our money, all that stuff.
Expensive room,
a lot of money.
And sometimes there'll be, I remember one time we did it with Joe Ingles and they had the Jazz digital media staff there. I'm not talking about that, but
yeah, that happens with some teams. OKC used to be like that with Westbrook and Durant in their early days. They were very protective of them. A lot of teams are like that.
I think about the interviews we've done with the least amount of people in the room. There's nobody in the room right now.
Yeah.
It's just Dame. Steph was one. Steph,
yep,
his bodyguard. I get it. Steph had one person in the room. And then other times we've had
29.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Could you imagine? I mean, we've done one with a young guy where there's 9 people in the room sitting right there, all standing right there. Listen.
That's hype culture right there. JJ is giving you some insight. That's hype culture right there. Stephen Curry, superstar, Dame, superstar. They show up to interviews almost by themselves with just one person, a bodyguard, maybe like a handler. But these young players did not even make an impact in the league yet. They're showing up with 9 PR guys, an image consultant person. You know, this is crazy, man. This is crazy.
And it's just interesting to me And I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't actually think there's anything wrong with that. I don't. The cultural shift of players coming in now. You guys have both touched on this. Austin Rivers talked about this. The mixtapes at a young age. You said entitlement. I don't think that's far off. I think it can be harsh if you generalize that about an entire group of players. But certainly I've had younger teammates as I finished up that I saw a little of that sense entitlement.
It's common, bro.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, and this is an example I'll give you. We lose last night, you know what I'm saying? And it's like we lose. Obviously, you come back the next day, you don't want to come out and be like, okay, we're gonna have practice. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we not, you know, on our team, it's almost like we got practice tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And this is not me knocking my teammates, because we had a really like a hard, real practice. You know what I'm saying? But like our team is like, they're on a team with me. So we talk about this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, look, this the way it is, you know, like this the way it goes sometimes. And they'll accept it. But when you don't have somebody on your team that's letting you know how it should be, and they respect you enough because they see your real behavior, just imagine like what's really happening. There's so many teams out there that don't have it. You know what I'm saying? So they're probably really getting up like, why are we doing this? You know what I'm saying? Like, why would we be practicing? You know, I've seen interviews from young players where they'll ask, and it's like, what if you guys had, you know, practice the day after a back-to-back? And I've literally seen interviews where they're like, I ain't going. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, if we had a back-to-back, you never have practice the day after after a back-to-back. That's hard. I don't think that's ever happened. But if it did happen, yeah, you say a time, I would just be like, all right, like, obviously we probably not come in here and start scrimmaging, but like, I'll be there. You know what I'm saying? So like, to have that type of mentality, that's like an example of what the mentality is. It's just like.
But this is where I say, and Nate has touched on this in regards to load management, it's not necessarily, that part of it to me is not necessarily just on the players, because they entered the NBA at a time when there were cultural shifts around practice. Like, we had knee pads and taped ankles for an hour and a half shoot-arounds for 5 years with Stan Van Gundy. So that's what I came into the NBA with. These guys are not getting that same experience, and so they're not experiencing it well. To me, this is maybe I'm an old man, but to me, the bigger issue is this is not a generalization on an entire group of young players. It's not. I think the bigger issue becomes something you kind of touched on when you talked about your love of the game. The bigger issue becomes, do you love basketball more, or do you love the things that basketball gives you more?
And it's important to understand how they came into the game. They came into the game from a very young age, seeing that their talents are giving them gifts. So subconsciously, they kind of equated to that. And a perfect player who did not make the NBA, and is a prime example, is I believe with Lenny Cook. They said he was better than LeBron. But if you look at his documentary, you understand how he fell in love with basketball. He didn't fall in love with basketball in order to be the best or to develop his talents. He fell in love with basketball because he saw that basketball got him stuff. He got things through basketball. That's why he fell in love with it. And it's very important how these guys fall in love with the game. I believe a lot of these guys that are coming into the league now, they actually fell in love with the game because it brought them monetary benefits. That's the thing that does not get talked about enough. But going back to what Dame and JJ spoke about, with a lot of the parents accepting agents and accepting gifts, it might be also a generational thing. A lot of their parents now, they're not old school as Dame's father was. As you know, speak to me first, and we're not accepting this, and we're not accepting that. As you see, Dame had called them accepting gifts and agents as weirdo stuff. But it's a different generation of parenting, And a lot of their parents actually grew up on social media themselves, and they're used to instant gratification. So it's a different culture even being passed down in the home nowadays. And we're going to see this new crop of players, I don't want to say come into the league very entitled, but they're definitely going to come into the NBA already rich through the NIL deals and other outside ventures that took place for them when they were on their come up.
That's where I think we run into problems when players are on that fall into that second slot, where they love what basketball gives them and they're entering the culture they're in right now.
Right.
We don't have the vets. There's a de-emphasis on vets, and the organizations have shifted a little bit of accountability. That's where we start running into problems. That to me is the issue.
No, I agree. And that's why I'm always like, I always talk about the people I came into the league and played with, because I know that is needed. You know, you need vets in the locker room. You know, it's not by mistake Udonis Haslem is in Miami and he never plays. Like, I don't think he's played like seriously in like 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he's got into a game here and
you
there.
know what I'm saying? Like, but it's known though. You know, it's known like he got a presence with these dudes. Like, what he say means something, and he knows what to say, and he knows what they need to know. So like, I feel like it should be somebody like that, or maybe two players like that in every locker room.
Facts. Definitely facts. And Haslam definitely needs to be a consultant for the Rockets to put some boots and some asses over there. Because those guys, man, in that franchise, they're developing a lot of early bad habits for their young players.
Because, like you said, like they didn't come into a culture where like they was learning to move on the same principle. So they just won't know. So I feel like it's just necessary. Look at the league though, so the league doesn't just start to, you know, just look too much like entertainment. Like you want it to be like about the game, and like for people to watch it and be like, man, them dudes care. You know what I'm saying? Like they fighting for it. Like I think about.
And that's a well-balancing act that the league is trying to put on right now. The entertainment side versus the basketball side. As we've seen them tweak the rules a lot, making it, you know, kind of free mobility for the offensive players. You know, everything is kind of in their favor. The league is kind of balancing between that entertainment and basketball. Sometimes if they want to, you know, make the game more entertaining, they got to take away from the nuances of the game. They got to tweak the rules a little bit there. So they take away from the beauty, the art of the actual game. And some of these young players already coming into the league with their own personalities on social media, it's definitely going to be even a harder balancing act, because the league definitely for sure markets their stars based off of their social media personalities, as we see with Ja Morant.
What was it, the finals in 2010? Boston and LA, where it was like, it's really them against them. Like, it felt like it was just them against them and everybody else was watching. It didn't look like, oh, he's had a triple-double in every game in the finals. And when this guy does this is what it's like, bro, just let him, just play. Like, this team against that team.
Or he has drama with this person, or used to play on this person. As you see, TNT, they brand their NBA coverage off of the drama. Kevin Durant used to play with Kyrie. Now watch Kevin Durant versus Kyrie. I mean, TNT's whole brand, they even have a model, the NBA on TNT, we know drama. Like, they base their marketing kind of on things outside of the game. And like Dame said, when it comes to watching basketball, if it's a real game, the fans are kind of just on the outside, just watching, when guys are like locked in, and it's beautiful to watch.
I'm saying, like, it's going away from being that simple. You know what I'm saying? It feels much more like entertainment and politics than like the game.
I want to ask about
And it definitely does feel like entertainment and politics at times. But it is what it is. The younger players, it's just, there's a whole lot of hype coming into the league, but it does feel like nothing but entertainment and politics. But at the same time, the league and the game itself has a beauty to it, a natural beauty to it. And it's always going to be a balancing act between the money, the entertainment, in the game. And as technology evolves and the culture of the AAU, the NCAA with the NIL rules, and also the G League and some of the ways that they try to promote and monetize the athletes taking that route. And also even on the international level, some of the international guys coming over into the States. It's going to be very interesting to see how the league balances all these things, especially with the marketing and promotion and how they handle their younger players. So we'll see how that plays out. Until next time, you fellas stay safe. Peace.